For decades, the Blackpool Fun House was a playground of chaos and joy. Part theme park, part fever dream. Kids raced down giant slides, clambered over cargo nets and collapsed in giggles to the sound of a maniacal, mechanical laugh that never seemed to stop. But beneath the laughter and nostalgia, the Fun House was a wooden tinderbox waiting for a spark. And when the fire came, it took more than just a building. It took a piece of Blackpool's soul. This is the story of the night fun died. When most people hear the name Blackpool, a certain image comes to mind. Fish and chips on the promenade, seagulls overhead, and the glow of arcades spilling onto the street. And they'd be right. Perched on the Irish sea coast near Liverpool, Blackpool rose from modest beginnings to become the very definition of a British seaside town. Its boom began in the 18th century, fuelled by an unlikely trend, sea swimming. At the time, it was believed that a dip in the bracing salt water could cure almost anything. And so they came, wave after wave of holidaymakers, chasing health, leisure and a little northern charm. And where did Blackpool get its name? Like many old English towns, the answer is rooted in geography and a little mystery. Centuries ago, a stream known as Spen Dyke wound its way beneath the town, carrying with it the dark stain of peat from nearby marshes. As it flowed from Martin Mere to the sea, it left behind a murky, inky pool along the coast. Locals began referring to the area simply as the Black Pool. Two words at first, plain and descriptive, but over time the name stuck, merged and eventually appeared in writing as one, Blackpool. Records suggest that by the 16th century the transformation was complete. A town named after its waters, dark, peculiar and oddly poetic. For many, Blackpool is more than just a seaside town. It's a vault of treasured memories and pure nostalgia that holds a special place in their hearts. It's where childhood summers came soaked in sunshine and splashed with rain, and where the thrill of riding a tram along the seafront felt like a grand adventure. Many remember climbing the iconic tower or passing by the Winter Gardens, where comedians like Cannon and Ball once brought the house down, and where political parties made big decisions under even bigger chandeliers. Today it's still the go-to for stag and hen parties, a town where traditions collide with a carnival spirit. And really, what says British seaside more than kiss-me-quick hats, candy floss, fish and chips, and the slow plod of donkeys across the sand? For those who've been, Blackpool isn't easily forgotten. In its heyday, crowds strolled the Golden Mile towards the beating heart of Blackpool, the Pleasure Beach. Back then there were no gates, no wristbands, no barriers. Kids dashed in and out freely, wide-eyed at the sights and sounds, their head on a swivel, trying to take it all in. And towering above it all, impossible to miss, was one of the park's most iconic fixtures, the Fun House. If you knew it, you remember it. And if you remember it, you definitely remember him, the Laughing Man. Or, as some called him, the Laughing Clown. Perched behind glass, eternally howling, he was equal parts amusement and nightmare fuel. He sat on his velvety throne, sealed behind glass, laughing with wild, relentless glee. Installed in 1935, the Laughing Man wasn't just decoration. He was a statement. Meant to draw you in and set the tone, he quickly became the face of the Fun House itself. Playful, chaotic, just a little bit unhinged. And everyone remembered him differently. Some doubled over with laughter at his cackling. Others couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that his eyes followed them. Every step, every turn. That was the genius of it. There's a thin, thrilling line between fun and fear, and the Laughing Man danced right on it. You couldn't miss him. As you neared the Fun House, his laughter was already waiting. This 5-story marvel of wood and fiberglass stood proudly inside the Pleasure Beach, drawing in crowds of all ages with its curious charm. Designed in the 1930s by celebrated architect Joseph Emberton, it wasn't just an attraction, it was a landmark. For 50 years, it stood as a centrepiece of the park's transformation, part of a bold new vision to modernise Blackpool's seaside magic. The Funhouse wasn't just popular, it was a rite of passage, a wild wooden maze of madness where kids could burn off every ounce of energy and then some. You could enter the Funhouse the normal way, just walk right through the front door, or you could take the more daring route by completing an obstacle course before you even got inside. And that set the tone for what was waiting within. Inside, it was chaos in the best possible way. One ride, affectionately known as the Socializer, spun and hurled people together whether they knew each other or not. There was a cakewalk, a barrel roll, a staircase that moved when you didn't want it to, and obstacle courses built to frustrate and thrill, all circling round a massive wooden slide and a place called Tin Pan Alley. That's where the little ones got stuck shouting for mum, only for Big Brother to appear and shove them right back in. There was even a monorail that sliced through the building, gliding in from the outside, looping through the mayhem and then disappearing again like something out of a dream. For a lot of families, the Funhouse wasn't just the most exciting part of the Pleasure Beach, it was the best value too. Instead of paying for ride after ride outside, you could pay once, head inside and let the kids loose for hours. And honestly, that was often enough. After the entry obstacle course, there was plenty to keep you busy. Rows of arcade machines, scattered seating for tired parents, and a dizzying collection of attractions that would probably give a modern health and safety officer heart palpitations. When money was tight, which it often was, some kids got creative. They'd sneak in through the wooden turnstiles at the exit, slipping past with a grin and making a beeline for the massive slide. Some would go down it what felt like 100 times in one visit. But there were tricks to surviving the Funhouse in one piece. Wear tracksuit bottoms or risk sticking to the wood. And if you planned on tackling the spinning wheel or barrel roll, long sleeves were a must. Otherwise you left with more than just memories, you left with friction burns. One smell almost everyone remembers from the Funhouse? Feet. Not candy floss, not popcorn, just the unmistakable, slightly horrifying scent of sweaty socks baked into the floorboards. It hit you the second you walked in. Part of the experience, like it or not. Then there was the cargo net, half thrill ride, half death trap. Kids would scrabble their way down it only to be caught, barely, by a row of Space Invader machines at the bottom. Health and safety? Not exactly top of the list. And through it all, the soundtrack never stopped. The jukebox on loop. Paul Young crooning Wherever I Lay My Hat. Or Cyndi Lauper's Time After Time, drifting through the chaos like a dreamy 80s echo. It was loud, it was wild, it was slightly balmy, but it was unforgettable. Like all the best childhood memories, it felt like it would last forever. But it didn't. It was a cold December night in 1991, a night that would come to be remembered hauntingly as the night fun died. At the time, the Irish Republican Army, the IRA, was still active on the British mainland. Blackpool wasn't untouched. The town had already experienced a wave of firebomb scares. Around 11 p.m, a pizza delivery driver near the Pleasure Beach heard what he described as a loud bang, maybe even an explosion. He didn't hesitate, he called it in. And minutes later, fire crews were on their way. Earlier that evening, staff in an admin block close to the Funhouse had already been evacuated following another firebomb alert. Fortunately, the Funhouse itself was closed. No children, no crowds, just darkness, and a building waiting for its final chapter. The building was a fire trap waiting for a spark. Mostly wood and fiberglass, the kind of materials that don't just burn, they explode. Eyewitnesses said that once the flames took hold, the Funhouse didn't stand a chance. It went up like a torch, shooting fire 100 feet into the December sky, a glowing pillar of flame against the darkness. Back then, fire regulations weren't what they are today. Inside, everything that made the Funhouse magical, the timber slides, plastic fixtures, padded tunnels, were also highly flammable. It all fed the blaze. There's no mention in any official reports of a sprinkler system in place. If there was one, it didn't stand a chance either. Once the fire started, the building didn't just burn, it vanished. Everything changed in the blink of an eye. Just hours earlier, the air was thick with the sugary scent of candy floss, fish and chips crackling in dripping, and the sticky sweetness of seaside treats. But by nightfall, those smells were gone, choked out by the acrid stench of burning timber and melted plastic. 1,000 childhood memories reduced to a smouldering pile of ash. Around 80 firefighters raced to the scene, some from as far as Burnley. They fought hard, brave souls against a wall of flame. But the fire had already taken hold. It raged out of control, devouring everything in its path. By the time it was finally contained at 1 a.m, the funhouse was gone. This beloved building, once bursting with laughter, chaos and joy, was now a blackened skeleton. The damage was estimated at £10 million. By the next morning, all that remained was a smoking ruin. Strangely, eerily, when the flames were finally out and the smoke had cleared, only one part of the laughing man remained: his head. Charred surroundings, twisted wreckage, and there he was, still grinning. A fireman carried it from the scene, and word soon spread. The head had survived because it had been removed for repairs just before the fire broke out. Well, that's the official line anyway. But those who remembered his glassy stare, his cackling laugh that echoed through the funhouse, they might wonder, was it timing or something else? A trickster to the end, did the laughing man somehow cheat the flames and rise phoenix-like from the ashes? You decide. The cause of the fire was never definitively pinned down. There was no sign of foul play, no solid evidence of arson, just questions, smoke and silence. Maybe an electrical fault, maybe something more mundane. Whatever it was, it caught fast and it took everything. For the staff and for the thousands who'd run wild through those wooden corridors, it was more than just the loss of a building. It was the end of an era. People who'd worked there for decades, who'd watched generation after generation of kids scream with joy on the spinning wheel or vanish into Timpan Alley, were left staring at a blackened skeleton. No one lost their life in the blaze that night, and for that we are deeply grateful. But still, something was lost, something harder to name, because what burned wasn't just timber and fiberglass. It was the echo of childhood laughter, the smell of candy floss in the air, the dizzy thrill of being spun around by the socializer, the shriek of surprise at slipping down the silver slide. It was memories of scraped knees, first crushes, and family days out. The funhouse was chaos and wonder all stitched together, and when it vanished into the smoke, it took a little piece of magic with it. For everyone who ever ran through those doors, it wasn't just a building. It was a moment in time. And time, as we know, you can never get back. For all those of you who have memories of the Blackpool Fun House, I'm sure this was quite a sad video to watch, but nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed the presentation. I'll see you on the next one, and I'll bid you bye-bye for now.